We want to share today about protein, making this shift to whole food plant based. The question most people have in their mind is, where do you get your protein?
Yeah, because we've been so educated to believe, like when I was growing up, meat was the source of protein on the planet. There was never any discussion about plant-based proteins. And so it's just been our common paradigm for so long that meat is the source of protein. But what's interesting is when you look at it ounce for ounce, there is as much protein in beans and lentils as there is in meat. And the interesting thing is that even though there's the same amount of protein, what's important to look at is how do these different sources of protein affect the body?
Yeah, what we want to look at is, does it create inflammation? What does it actually do when we ingest it long term?
Yeah. Well, we talk high nutrient density all the time. And that's the first thing that I often consider when I'm comparing animal-based protein and plant-based protein, because the meat has absolutely no fiber. Although that is often not considered a nutrient when they look at nutrient density, we're seeing more and more now that fiber is so important for a healthy body because our gut microbiome is fed by fiber, and that determines so much about our immune system, supporting our circulatory system, our digestive system. A healthy gut microbiome is really key, and we need that fiber.
Yeah, the microbiome wants plants to really thrive. And if it thrives, then our health thrives.
Yeah, yeah. So the other thing that I think about that comes up quite often when I think about comparing animal-based protein with plant-based protein is, of course, the saturated fat.
Yeah.
Meat is high in saturated fat. Plants are almost entirely unsaturated fat, what we call the good fats. And so the saturated fat from meat is linked to higher risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes,
High blood pressure.
and blood pressure. Even they're starting to see some correlation to Alzheimer's disease. So that saturated fat is something you want to eliminate from the body. And so when people say, where do you get your protein? It's almost like I used to be kind of defensive. Oh, look, there's plenty in plants. It's almost like, man, I not only get my protein from plants, I get fiber, I get healthy fats, I get, it just goes on and on. No inflammation.
And I feel so great.
Oh, I think that's why, because we're leaving all that other stuff out. You leave the saturated fat out. The extra cholesterol, that's another thing that is in all meats that there's none of in plants, and that too is linked with heart disease, diabetes, stroke, high blood pressure, all these things. So we leave out saturated fat, we leave out cholesterol. There's no inflammation. In fact, in plants, not only is it not inflammatory, it's filled with nutrients that are anti-inflammatory. You see, the thing about inflammation that's interesting is that just the natural metabolic process, just our digesting food and living, produces inflammation, produces free radicals that the immune system has to respond to and get out. That's inflammatory. But the thing about plants is that they come with all these antioxidants, all these anti-inflammatory nutrients that offset the natural inflammatory effect of living.
Well, you know what's most important? We can get scientific about all of this, which is great, but how does it taste and how does it make you feel? And we have over 150 recipes, or 100, over 100 at least. I may be exaggerating that a bit, that are phenomenal. And we don't even want to go anyplace out to eat because it doesn't compare to what we get at home. to what we can make ourselves and enjoy.
That's a good point, because when you mentioned that, I realized that what used to attract me to going out was kind of the explosion of tastes and flavors, but also it was always a lot higher on salt, oil, and sugar. And those three things, which we've been eliminating now in our diet, all stimulate like the pleasure center of the brain. They all produce a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
So as we've gone SOS free, salt, oil, and sugar free, our bodies have kind of rehabituated. So now if we have some of the kind of traditional commercial foods, it's like way over the top. And we always leave the restaurant kind of looking at each other going, why did we do that? Because we always feel so good when we eat at home.
Yeah, we don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Hardly ever.
Yeah, hardly ever. So the one other thing that I often mention about the downside of animal protein is heterocyclic amines. Yeah, we're going back to the science here.
Good.
And those are clearly cancer causing. And when you cook meat, it produces these heterocyclic amines. And the cooked plants don't have it.
Yeah.
So another reason to really not only shift over to plant-based sources of protein, but feel so good about what you're giving your body.
And we can help you make the shift so easily and enjoyably. So if you want some input on that, let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, happy to have a free consultation with you. And we came across a short video with Dr. Greger, one of my favorite doctors in terms of providing evidence-based research, reasons for eating whole food plant-based. And in this, he's talking about this comparison of plant-based protein versus animal protein and longevity, how it affects how long we live. So we'll leave you with that and go on to our recipe this week.
I'm going to talk about the recipe now.
Oh, unless you had more to say.
No, I can say more about the recipe, but we can wait until after the video.
Oh, certainly.
Okay, so we're going to do, we volunteer at an organic farm every week, and we got corn on the cob, beautiful peppers, cucumbers, plums we picked ripe off the tree. What are those? Green plums or yellow plums?
I'm not sure what variety they are.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah, and then red onion, and we put it all together as a raw salad. And jalapeno, don't forget
that's
that
right.
to
That
give
was
a
nice
bite.
touch, yeah.
Oh, that was so good. And we'll send you that recipe this week.
We call it the firefly corn salad because the name of the farm we go to that supplied all the ingredients is Firefly Farms.
Firefly.
So thanks, Naomi, for providing us with this wonderful food. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Bye.